Hello, beautiful friends. Today is day 5 of July postcard play, which was initiated by Ceri the Crafter, Ceri Griffiths on YouTube. You can find um, the introductory video in the show more, or you can look up Ceri the Crafter on YouTube. So I'm speeding this up. I think it's 2 times the speed. It's going through the whole process that I did, except for doing the jelly prints because I did them and let them dry, and I had a whole stack of them ready. So I'm using, as you probably know if you've watched any of the other videos, a paper packet from Stamperia called Fortune, and it's all tarot cards, wizardry, well, not wizardry, gems and stones and fortunes, palmistry, things like that. Nothing, just really pretty colors, and I did a theme. I did where this would be this week, and this will be, I've run out of ideas. You'll see that in the next one. I've pretty much tapped out on this one, I think. I have one more to do, or actually 2 more, and I'm pretty much done with this theme. So, letting this go through, yeah, trying things out, just showing you the process that I went through. I have some papers that are in my little stash of things that I created to use, like words and musical notes, things like that, just to give some interest and change it up a little bit. Like I said, if you've watched any of the other videos, you know I'm not a typical artist. I'm not an artist, really. I'm just playing and having fun. It's something I enjoy doing. It's really hard for me to do 31 days of the same thing. It's difficult, very difficult. So I'm going to take a brief pause right here to just explain the distress oxide. Usually we use tea dye, or I use tea dye, or I use black to edge the cardstock. And this time I decided I wanted the blue to come out a little better. So I put that on the papers, and the papers are coffee dyed, except of course the scrapbook paper. That came out pretty good. I like it. It sort of enhances the blue that's on the paper. I say a lot. Regardless, there's I like it. I like the way it came out. It really does enhance that blue, and I'm glad I tried that. It sort of helped me. See, you see the blue in the paper? It just really came out much better than I think it would have if I did the browns or the black. I like that. I like that it brought that out. It's interesting how they use the blues in the Egyptian motifs. And if you didn't know, even though it is a fortune, it has a few Egyptian things in it. It was a set that I picked up at Stamperia, and it has a stamp set, which I used in the first one, that had hieroglyphics on it. Hieroglyphics, and then it has a background stamp that's generic. And then the other one is, what is the other one? I forgot what the other one was. But they're very Egyptian-esque. So, and I'm interested in how they figured out to do the blue. Unless it was the blue that was on the statues in the Egyptian art. Blue and gold was a big thing. I got to go to the museum uh, in New York. I had to go for my undergraduate. So one of the things, which was kind of funny because I never went anywhere by myself, but this particular class I took, you had to, it was an art class, and you had to go to the museum. And she said it could be any museum, and like we don't have art museums where I live. So we had to go down to the city. Oh, and we lived close to it, but the thing was, I remember when I was a kid and we had a brand new high school, and it started with 8th grade because it was such a small town. It was easier to put the 8th grade into the high school that year. So anyway, I digress. So the social studies teacher, was it social studies or English? I think it was social studies, wanted us to go to the library and investigate our names. And the thing was, our library at the time, it was a very small town. Now, nowadays, if you were to go there, it's a very, well, we used to call them a yuppie town. It had IBM and Pepsi had just moved in. And so, or soon after our high school was built, they came, probably more when I was an adult, but anyway. So we had a teeny tiny little public library at the time, and it was maybe, it was at an intersection. It was a very strange location for it, but you couldn't go anywhere in my neighborhood. It's like you just couldn't go. And there was no way, I lived with my aunt, so there was no way I could ask her to take me to the library to investigate my name. And the library didn't have, how could they have anything on? It was ridiculous. The thing was, I think it was a new person in town that, we had a couple of new teachers. I don't think they realized that we didn't have the facilities, not until my kids went to that high school. We then had a huge library built. But I remember the day coming back from this assignment. He gave it to us for overnight. And it's not like, well, you don't have time to go down to the library at the school, first of all, because once the classes are over, you have to get on the bus to get home. You can't walk it. It was that far, there was highways to get to my house. It wasn't all right. So it's really funny to me, but anyway. So we go back in the next day, and the only person who could have gotten any information about their name was a guy I knew in school named Gary. His thing was he found his name in Gary, Indiana. And I just whatever it was this teacher had planned had blew up in his face. And I'm sure it was really a wonderful idea. He wanted us to do research. I mean, I'm a teacher, I get it. But the thing was, you have to find out. Well, maybe because I was a special ed teacher, I would have investigated. That's what we were trained to do, to figure out if the kids had the access and the ability to do what it is you want them or need them to do. And obviously, this teacher didn't realize we did not have the facilities to locate. And it's not like nowadays where you can just go home and go online and research whatever it is the teacher wants you to do. However, kids don't want to do that either. So, hello. And it's not that I blame them. I get sidetracked when I'm doing research on stuff. So I get it. But anyway, I carry on. So I think it's funny. That's all. I just thought I'd share that with you because basically you can see what I'm doing. It's just gluing the things down. I auditioned everything and then I pulled it off to the sides because I was afraid I was going to forget how I wanted it done. You know, and once you do it, it's like, Sometimes people take pictures with their phones. Um, yeah, I don't think it's that necessary to do that. I just pull them off in the order and then I put things back. It helps. I mean, the way I take things off and then it helps me renegotiate. And then so you can see here I'm using the clear Elmer's glue. I've kind of given up on the Tombow glue, and I'll tell you why. There's a thing with Tombow glue. You can put the glue down and use it like re-stick things over and over again, like the Post-it notes. So that's a great advantage to that glue, but if it seeps out on my stuff, on any of the things that I'm using, and you see here I'm using the towel to mop up anything that oozes out. If it oozes out, and even if I wipe it off, it stays sticky. So that's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem I've had. So I'm taking that Distress Oxide and using my glue stick top to put in little circles. And I like the way it came out. And I apologize because for some reason the lighting, I don't know, maybe I need to open the curtain and have the sunlight come in again, because it's just not, it's not as good as it used to be. Either that or I got to get a better camera. And this is from Art Anthology, and it's Gilded Gold. I tried to use the other one to see if it was working, and I forgot that sprayer doesn't work. But there it is, and we'll show you some close-ups. I appreciate you watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed my story. Do you have any stories about your high school? Oh yeah, and I have some liquid acrylic. There it is. Thanks again.